Welcome to Library Lowdown, the program that tells you all the great things, the materials that are at the Billerica Public Library, the services and the programs also, and lets you know what is going on around town. My co-host here is Barbara Flaherty. She's the director of the library, and my name is Priscilla Vaughn. I'm the assistant director. Well, summertime, and the living is easy.
Let's hope.
People are always looking for that great summer read, and they're always asking people opinions. So what I did is I kind of took a page from my own book, and I went to the staff and asked them to give me some titles, some of their favorite works that I can then pass on to you that you can read during the summer or whenever. The first couple of books I'm going to talk to, Liz gave me these suggestions. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, and Angela's Ashes by Frank McCourt. Liz says the first time she read To Kill a Mockingbird, she was captivated by the story and the characters. And I quote from Liz, "The main character, Atticus, stood for everything that was good and decent. His integrity and thoughtfulness about his life was something I continue to strive for in my own life." And about Angela's Ashes, she said, "It's a poignant story that demonstrates strength and resilience of people in dire circumstances." So those were Liz's two picks.
Those are great picks.
Yeah, aren't they? Yeah, great picks. With Lisa, we hit a bonanza. She gave me a suggestion for a fiction, for a nonfiction, and for a children's book. The fiction one that she would recommend is The Red Tent by Anita Diamant, and she said that this is a fictionalized account of a woman who is briefly mentioned in the Bible, and a bit of trivia she wants to tell you. The author actually hails from the Boston area. For her nonfiction pick, she picked a new book, Street Gang by Michael Davis, and it is all about the starting and the development of Sesame Street. We all know about Sesame Street. It's the behind-the-scenes story and what was needed to be done to get the children's television project off the ground. Lisa especially liked what am I trying to say? She especially liked the action or the figures or the talking to the people who grew up with Sesame Street, because they do some interviews besides telling you the process on how they got Sesame Street on the air. They also talk about adults who are now adults who grew up with Sesame Street is what I'm trying to get out. And you know, the likes of Big Bird and Ernie and Bert and the rest of the residents at 123 Sesame Street.
I didn't know that was the address.
Yeah, I didn't either. I did not either. Makes sense, though.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Either 1, 2, 3 or ABC, one or the other. And for children's books, she recommends books by Mo Willems. There's an Elephant and Piggy series. These are easy readers aimed at the preschooler to K reader. And the illustrations are simple but very telling. And believe it or not, the author is a former writer for Sesame Street. So those were Lisa's suggestions. Not to forget the men, we have a suggestion from Jim. This is a trilogy by Bernard Cornwell. You probably, the guys are probably familiar with him. He does a series, war series of GIs and that type of thing. This is the trilogy that retells the King Arthur story. And this is the first book in the series, Winter King. According to Jim, this series may be classified as man fiction. The writing is realistic and gritty. The characters are portrayed differently than the traditional way of thinking of them. They are more real for their time. And he said the series would make a great summer read. So that's the series about King Arthur by Bernard Cornwell. Kathy has a suggestion. And her suggestion is The Bone Garden, by Tess Gerritsen. She liked the historical information. She also liked the fact that the story bounces back and forth in time. And I think, I've read the book, and I think Tess does a fabulous job of bringing you up to date, you know, or taking you back in time. You know exactly where you are, and you don't have to keep going back and, you know, figuring out what time frame I'm in. And she said the story was entertaining, and the history of medicine was very interesting. She said the fact that she remembers not only the title, but the author tells you how much she enjoyed the book.
Isn't that the truth?
Right. And another good summer read suggestion from Marty. This is women's fiction. We had man fiction, we have women's fiction. This is Fortune's Rock by Anita Shreve. You probably remember Shreve as the author of The Pilot's Wife. I think that's the first one. I don't know if it's the first one she wrote, but it's the first one that was popular.
And Oprah.
And Oprah. It was an Oprah book, right. Yes. Fortune's Rocks takes place in 1899 and concerns a young woman who gets pregnant. She's forced to give up her child and then sues for custody several years later. If you've read anything by Anita Shreve, this is written in a typical Anita Shreve style. It's readable, and it really makes you think about how women's lives have changed in the last 100 years. So that's Marty's suggestion. And Sandra, who actually does Reader's Advisor at the library, has several suggestions. She loves science fiction and recommends the Farsi and Tawny Man trilogies by Robin Hobb. She fell in love with the characters, and she, you know, really felt their pain and their struggle through their journey. Another of Sandra's favorites is Neil Gaiman. I believe I'm pronouncing his name right. She says many of Gaiman's novels place mythological characters and stories in settings familiar to contemporary life. He creates a surreal world and pulls the reader into it. And she also says the author is humorous, and that adds to the flow of the story. And not to forget the nonfiction people, Sandra recommends Bill Bryson's A Walk in the Woods. This is the audio book for it. She says it draws you right into the adventure of making you feel like you were right beside Bryson as he walks through the woods. So, there you have it.
Yeah.
As you can tell from the wide variety of recommendations, the library staff can suggest a good read in just about any area of interest. So, come by and check us out.